The end, author's notes. This is fan fiction that reflects the end of the infection in DayZ. Any characters in this story do not need to act on this in roleplay. Chapter 1, Near Future. Snow lies thick on the side of the mountain as Mikhail slowly slides down in his white hunter's garb. A few hundred meters down and in front of him, he can see a large military building. As he looks through his scope, he can see Phoenix sitting on a chair with her hands tied behind her back. Range 542 meters, wind 2M is at 247, Martin announces with a low tone right next to him. Mikhail adjusts his scope and waits for the radio signal. Two fast pushes on the PTT from Gustav announce that he is in position. As if on cue, Phoenix looks up and smiles before her head dips down again. The door opens behind Phoenix and a man enters the small cell. "So, will you surprise me and talk today?" the man asks with a broad Russian accent. "Yeah, I got something to say," Phoenix says in a low tone, obviously in pain. "What was that?" the man asks as he leans in to hear better, giving Mikhail a better angle for his shot. "I have something to say. Mikhail is my best sniper, and Silent Death trained him." She said this, moving slightly away from the guy and at the same time giving Mikhail the signal he was waiting for. The man turns his head toward the small crack of a window. He is about to react to the information he received, but instead, his head explodes from the impact of the .408 armor-penetrating round before it passes through the door and hits the guard outside the door before barring itself into the concrete wall. Less than a second later, the all-too-familiar boom from the gun can be heard. Gustav and his team hear the gunshot, breach the door with some C4, and rush in at a high pace. They split up into two groups, one heading to the right in the corridor, and Gustav, with his team, heads left toward Phoenix. As soon as they enter the room, Gustav signals Mikhail with a green chem light. Gunfire and shouting voices can still be heard as the Beta team clears the rest of the building. "Beta to Alpha, we got something here that may interest Mikhail." "Mikhail here, what is it?" "It's a list of names and locations. You need to see this for yourself." "Roger that, let's meet up at the designated location." After waiting a few more minutes, the team shows up with Phoenix on a sled behind one of the men. Mikhail walks over to Phoenix and looks at her momentarily before talking. "Nothing a hot shower and some makeup can't fix," he says jokingly. "Well, you did take your time to find me," she answers teasingly. Mikhail stands up and his expression turns serious again. "So, what do you have for me?" The police officer gives him the list. Two names pop out straight away at him. Nora Hansen, age 45, dead. Ella Silverstein, age 22, missing. "Thank you. Can I keep this?" "Yeah, I got a copy of it." Mikhail looks at the small wolf carving he got from Ella in the past, which seems so long ago, and places it back next to an old crumbling letter. Chapter 2. What is normal? "The world seems to recover," Mikhail says as he looks at the younger lady beside him. "It most certainly does," she says and smiles softly at Mikhail. The two stop at a gravestone and Mikhail kneels and places some flowers below it. "Could I have a moment?" Mikhail asks as he looks up at Phoenix. "Of course," she says, as she knows how hard of a time Mikhail has to express his feelings. As Phoenix walks away, he looks at the stone, inspecting it from top to bottom. It starts with a dove of peace and under it, Nora Hansen, from 1974 to 2019, in some text. "All of the angels of the heaven envied our happiness here on earth." "Hi, Nora. I hope you don't think less of me, but I found someone else. I think you would like her." Mikhail brushes away a tear. Her name is Phoenix. I think she starts to suspect I have these feelings for her, but she lets me take my time. At least, I hope that's the reason. You know, she is 17 years younger than me. I hope I have your blessing. As if on cue, a warm breeze blows through the graveyard. "I don't believe in gods or heaven, but I will take that as a sigh," he says as he stands up and walks over to Phoenix. The two sit quietly and look at the small TV announcing that the weather is coming up next. And now over to Helen for this week's weather and infected concentration. "Thank you, Tom. Unfortunately, another heat wave is coming in from the south and we can expect the temperature to increase to 98 degrees. The CAA reports they have pushed the infected further north and west, but still advises people to be careful in Colorado, Kansas, and Missouri." Thank you, Helen. "We have a reporter out on the field for a word from General Tom Green." For a few seconds, the screen behind the reporter changes to the American flag and the text Civilian American Army before the reporter comes into focus next to a muscular man standing almost 7 feet tall, dwarfing the reporter. So, General, what are your plans for now? Well, it doesn't take a genius to fight these infected. We keep bombing them with fire, which seems the most effective way to handle them, and send the troops to clean up whatever is left. It is rumored that you need more men. Are you losing men to the infected? A few, yes, but it is not for that reason. As we move north, east, and west, we are spread thin and need more men and people with leadership experience. Thank you, General, for taking time with me back to the studio. You should sign up. We both should, Phoenix says as she looks at Mikhail. I feel we have done more than enough, but if you want to, I will follow you as always. Phoenix stays silent and looks at Mikhail. What? I'm 62 years old and not as flexible as I used to be. All I hear is excuses, she says as she keeps looking at him. Okay, I'll sign up with you. Damn you, always getting me into trouble, he says with a smile on his face. Chapter 3. Friends in Life and Death. 2 years later. Mikhail Phoenix, the man shouts out with a commanding voice. Yes, sir, Mikhail calls out. I need you and Phoenix to head up there and look for our reinforcement, the man says as he points toward a somewhat crumbling building. Yes, sir, Mikhail calls out as he picks up his rifle and moves toward the 8-story house. The two of them walk slowly to the house, and Mikhail can't help but look up and dread the climb. I can't believe my first time in Germany is with a gun in my hand, Phoenix says, looking at the newly acquired M4. Mikhail looks at her and smiles. Well, my first visit in South Zagoria included a gun for me, too, Mikhail says with a teasing smile. Well, duh, you were on a hunting trip. I don't know if it's just me glorifying that time, but it seemed easier back then. Cannibals, Yashala, anarchy. Do I need to go on? Mikhail reminds her with a smirk on his lips. No, I remember. I'm more surprised you do, without looking in that book of yours, she says teasingly. The two of them walk into the building and climb the last 2 floors from the outside using the balconies. Mikhail looks around through his scope, and it doesn't take long for him to spot a large dust cloud in the north and one to the east. Mikhail picks up his radio. Mikhail here. I can see 2 major dust clouds, one to the north and one to the east. The one to the north is roughly 3 clicks out, and the one to the east is about 8 clicks out. Mikhail releases the PTT as he spots movement in one of the deserted, what looks to have been some store or warehouse. Copy that. We will camp here until tomorrow. Mikhail here. I have movement southeast of 300 meters. It appears not to be infected. Hold, Mikhail says as he spots another person over there. Correction, make that 2 non-infected. One of them seems to have some sort of full-body armor. Copy that. We will investigate. A few moments later, Mikhail can see 5 men moving at a high pace in the direction he mentioned. Mikhail to southeastern team. I lost eyes on unknowns. Last seen leaving the white and blue building. Roger that. Proceeding with caution. After a few minutes of waiting, the team announces, we found them, one local named Ella Silverstein and her husband with U.S. citizenship by the name Caleb Silverstein. Mikhail can't believe what he is hearing. Mikhail, here, let me talk to them. Hello, it is Ella speaking. Hi, Ella. I want you to go with the people that are with you. They are good people. Your voice sounds familiar. Who are you? It was a long time ago. I'm the guy you gave the wolf carving to. It's me, Mikhail. The silence lasts a few seconds but feels like an eternity before Mikhail spots Ella, Caleb, and the team emerging from behind the building. One of the men points at him, and Mikhail looks at Ella as she looks up at him, too far away for her to see him clearly. Hi. His eyes fill with tears as he recognizes her. We will talk. Soon. He continues as he brushes away the tears. As darkness starts to fall and the reinforcement has arrived, he calls in, there is nothing more I can do from up here. Permission to come down? Granted, get down here and get some food, and good job, both of you. Mikhail and Phoenix make their way down, and as soon as Mikhail enters the camp, he spots a small group of people sitting together talking and eating. Mikhail recognizes most of them as he approaches Ella, Caleb, Hutch, Martin, DJ, Olivia, and Michael, among some new and old Legion members. Mikhail is almost surprised as Ella stands up and walks over to him, giving him a long and cold hug due to her suit, which makes her able to walk. "I missed you, Mikhail," she says in a low voice. The group stands up, and Martin is the first one to shake his hand. Not long after they finished their meal and just talked about the old days, an alarm sounded that Mikhail implicitly recognized as a horde incoming. As the men scramble to their posts, Mikhail looks over at Ella and Phoenix and gets a horrible feeling of dread. He runs away, followed by Phoenix. As they get behind the barricade, a good distance from the front line, a flare is shot up and Mikhail can't help but feel fear as he can clearly see the horde of hundreds, if not thousands of infected coming toward them. "Oh my God," he says as his eyes widen. The thumping sound of the mortars can be heard behind him, and shortly after, the loud explosions and bodies flying from the force. More explosions can be heard as more mortars land, but there seems to be no end to the constant stream of infected. "Mikhail here, call in an airstrike. We are getting overrun here." "I have. It is coming in 3 minutes." 3 minutes? Where the hell are they? Mikhail thinks to himself. An all too familiar growl can be heard from behind him, and he spins around, draws his knife, and stabs the infected up through his jaw, pushing the knife all the way at Mushinate until the entire blade is in the head of the infected before he notices the rest of them behind the one he just killed. "Sir, we are surrounded," Mikhail calls out on the radio. "Defend the mortars. Without them, we are doomed." Without a word, Mikhail picks up his rifle and starts to pick off the infected one by one, but soon notices he will be out of ammo long before the airstrike arrives. As their ammo runs out and just a few stand around the men, firing the mortars, fighting the infected with knives and axes, Mikhail pushes the PTT. "It's been an honor, sir," and releases the PTT as he falls to the ground. He looks over at Phoenix, fighting alongside Ella, Martin, and Caleb. As his sight darkens, he can see a tiny glimmer high up in the sky. "No, too early? Friendly here?" he says, but never pushes the PTT 1 year later. "It is my honor and privilege to present this monument in honor of the fallen at the Battle for Berlin." A crane unveils the massive pyramid with a symbol of infinity carved on each side and filled with names. We lost a lot of loved common people and heroes, but with this monument that shows life is infinite, we will never forget them or their deeds. As the talk ends, a lone person walks over to the monument, looks at it, and soon finds what she is looking for. Michael Hansen, Phoenix Hansen, Ella Silverstein, Caleb Silverstein, Martin Bjornstad, Roy Hutchinson, DJ, Olivia, Michael. A soft sigh can be heard as she walks away, and a dull metallic sound can be heard as she walks. "I'm sorry, hun, but you know how stubborn Mikhail was." The end. Rest in peace, Silent Death 001, and thank you for your service.